Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Sage Intacct weekly demonstration. I'm Neil Gabarnik, our Sage Intacct sales consultant, and with me is Pierre Shields, our Intacct solutions consultant. A quick overview for today, about 5 minutes from me, 40 minutes from Pierre, and then some time for your questions. Before we move to the demo, just a little information about Vision 33. Selecting the right software is important, but the right partner is the real difference maker for your business. A few things Vision 33 brings to the table: extensive support and industry experience. We have many longtime customers who rely on our partnership to support their business, and we're a leader in the Sage community. Implementation is just the beginning of your journey. Vision 33 is here for long-term support and customer care. Ultimately, it's our consistency, reliability, focus on excellent customer experiences, and leveraging our knowledge to help you transform accounting frustrations into success and strategic growth. And like Sage, Vision 33 is a global company, but we like to say we operate as a small business. Our main operations are in Canada, in the US, and the UK, and we have certified consultants to serve you locally. And here are some of our excellent customers running Sage Intacct. They come from all over the spectrum, including nonprofit, SaaS and technology, professional services, and more. And I'm sure most of you have done your initial research on Sage Intacct, but here are a few highlights. As you can see, Sage Intacct supports several industries and offers industry-specific functionality. Vision 33's biggest customer footprint is nonprofit, where we have approximately 35% of our client base. And building expertise in these verticals really helps us guide our customers down the right path with their implementation, including your sector's best practices for reporting. And here's a quick snapshot of Sage's global reach. Sage has millions of customers worldwide. And here's another snapshot that shows Sage Intacct's global reach, serving customers in 80 plus countries and in 130 plus functional currencies. Sage Intacct is actually the #1 rated accounting software in the world by G2 and Gartner, so people who actually use the software. And if you're interested in the underlying numbers, Sage Intacct is as secure as it gets. You no longer need to worry about backups, downtime, and costly upgrades. It just works all the time. And Sage Intacct isn't a solution that was retrofitted for the cloud. It's a cloud-native solution from its first line of code. It's an affordable, easy-to-use solution for finance teams that need only specialized finance tools. It's also a modular solution, which means you pay only for what you need now, and you can add more functionality whenever you need it. And we call Sage Intacct a best-of-breed solution, and its open API makes it easy to seamlessly integrate with other best-of-breed solutions. And for integration, Sage has what's called the Sage Intacct Marketplace, filled with pre-built integrations to other best-of-breed solutions for CRM, e-commerce, and so much more. And if the solution you want to integrate isn't on the Sage Intacct Marketplace, Vision 33 can build the integration for you with Saltbox, which is our exclusive cloud-based integration solution built by our automation and integration experts. And just a final word about Sage Intacct's embedded AI. While it's not built into our demo environment just yet, we want to introduce you to Sage Copilot. Basically, Sage Copilot is like getting a very smart productivity assistant. It gives you answers you can trust and tools for a smoother, faster month-end close. So be sure to ask your consultant about Sage Copilot when they follow up with you. So that's it for me. And now I'll turn it over to Pierre for the demo. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Neil. Thanks for the intro, and thank you, Nicole, for setting this up. So, as Neil was saying, I'm Pierre Shields, solution consultant for Sage Intacct. Today, well, thank you for joining, and thank you for being here in such large numbers. So today's session is designed to help you evaluate whether Sage Intacct can improve visibility, reduce manual work, and support growth without adding reporting complexity. And that's what's important here. So many people will go from a system that's a little bit simpler or that's less evolved, if you will. We don't want that transition to be painful, and we don't want to add complexity by giving you tools that are going to help you control. So it's not going to be a full product tour. It's not going to be a click-a-thon. We're not clicking all over the place. We're going to stay at 30,000 feet for this demo. So the first thing I want to talk about is the top requirements. What are the top requirements we've gotten from accountants and CFOs and CIOs and CEOs from all over the place? Well, the first one that comes up is I want to have visibility on the business in real time. So, of course, we want to have visibility. This is where you can make decisions. And you want it in real time because, you know, things being timely or your indicators being timely is pretty darn important. If it takes you 2 months rather to get your financials, you're probably missing out on some actionable items that you could have worked on earlier. I want to get visibility without complexity. As we were saying before, more features, but we don't want to make it harder. As a matter of fact, we want to make it easier. So Sage Intacct has a whole bunch of automated features and automated processes built in. I want to manage complexity and consolidation across entities. Some of you have multiple entities. Some of you have one entity right now, but you're going to be growing. So we want to be able to consolidate our multiple entities later on, or as we grow, and we want to be able to grow into the system. I want to close faster and with more confidence. So stick around to the end because I'm going to be talking about the AI features that are built into the system. In our demo right now, as Neil was saying, our demo environment, the close automation isn't necessarily in this instance, but I have some good PowerPoint slides to help you understand what it can do for you. So I want to close faster with more confidence, yes. And I want my system to be built with my needs at its core. So this is where we talk about best of breed versus the monolith. If we have time, we'll talk about this. All right, the first thing we're going to be talking about, reporting and dashboards. So we talked about I want visibility on my business in real time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over really quickly to my dashboards. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is reporting and dashboards. So I'll come here. Oh, and here are all the applications and how we navigate the system. So I want to go to my dashboards. There are literally zillions of dashboards built into the system. Every time we install an instance of Sage Intacct, we install the instance built around your particular industry. So if you're in the hospitality industry, if you're in distribution, manufacturing, software as a service, professional services, we have reports that are custom built for you. They will have the nomenclature. Do you say vendor? Do you say supplier? Do you say, and so on. So all of that is customizable and all of the reports come made for you. And of course, the reports can be customized once you need them. Okay, so here we go to our dashboards. As we can see, for example, here's analysis view. We have zillions of dashboards for analysis, compliance, a whole bunch of them as well. What I like to use is the role-based dashboards because when your employee comes in to work in the morning, it's really interesting when they sit in front of their dashboard and everything is there. They know their tasks, what needs to be done today. They know what the outliers are, what needs to be checked out and drilled into a little bit more, but it's all in one spot. Okay, so here's our dashboard. What's interesting to see on our dashboard is that everything here is real time, nothing static. Every number is live and everything can be drilled down. So if you have an underlying statement or a clickable box, you can drill down to every single underlying transaction, which is great when you're doing a little bit of research, but it's also great for auditing later on. So what we see here is on the dashboard, it's a CFO dashboard. We have our date. My data is from 2021, so this is the date we have here. I have for example, it's my CFO dashboard. So I have my total revenue, expenditures, assets, program efficiency, and so on, the things that are important to me. So we have our typical accounts, total revenue, total expenditures, fantastic. But I also have what's called statistical accounts. So for example, individuals served. How do I get the individual served? Well, we are able to enter individuals into our system that are not used for accounting, but are used for indicators and can be used in calculations. For example, cost per hours learning. Well, I know what my cost is, but how many hours? So I also have in my statistical accounts, I'll have the hours there. And this way I can come up with these calculated fields. Everything here is customizable without programming. So membership fees, I don't like it here. Excuse me, I'll put it up over here. There we go. No, I wanted it up on top. There it goes, up on top. Now, drag and drop is kind of, okay, low-hanging fruit. But what's really interesting here in terms of the reports is I can add any kind of report graph that I want to the dashboard. So here I can add a chart, my general reports. I can put performance cards, records, reports, and smart links. What's interesting with smart links is I could link to an RSS feed for a site I go to all the time or my employee goes to all the time. So these are the performance cards up here. As I scroll down, we see that there's some graphs. We see that they're also 100% clickable. I won't click on these right now, but 100% clickable. Tasks are over on this side. We have nothing to address right now, so great. And here we have more reports. So for example, statement of financial summary, what I'll do is I see short-term liabilities. Let me go click down on my 9 million because I want to know, oh, what the heck is going on with my liabilities? Click here. I see, oh, what is this $8,400 value? So when I click on it, it brings me to the underlying transaction. I could come down here, see exactly what it is. Okay, such and such an account. The amount is such and such. And I've even identified the fund, the department, the project or grant. How do I do that? Well, I'll show you in a couple of seconds. But first, we'll come back. Oh, and also, you'll notice that when a bill is created, everything, once you put in your vendor or your supplier, if you will, everything is automatically filled. We can even base your bill on the previous bill that was created. So quick copy paste, go in there, a few modifications. It's always faster to modify something than to start from scratch. What's also really neat is we have a history tab here. So anything that's happened with this bill will be here in the history. Here we see that approver K Grace approved this bill when it was going through the approval workflow. Fantastic. There could be a whole bunch also of these different steps. There was a credit, then okay, then we took it back, and then there was okay, and so on. So let's get out of here. What's interesting here is also, so there's no Excel reports, though if you want to export, you can export any report into Excel, into CSV. You can export it as HTML, you can export it as a PDF. When it's exported as HTML, you can also send it off to people who have access to the system. They can drill down on each one of our numbers. There's no manual reconciliations anywhere. There's no multiple versions of the truth. This is the one version of the truth that everybody has in real time. And as I was saying, these reports are built for you. So if your industry is different from, this is a non-for-profit instance, but if your industry is different, it's really built for you. As I was also saying, every label and every title is 100% customizable so that once your employees start working with Sage Intacct, they recognize the system. It's as user-friendly can be. Something else I want to show you about this up here too. So here we have a whole bunch of these reports and performance cards and so on. But you know what? This is for the whole company. I want to go see for a particular department. So let me just go to Department 100, Counseling Services, click on Apply, boom. And we'll see our numbers are going to change here. So in real time, I can also slice and dice. And again, if I want to drill down to any of these numbers for the counseling department, no problem. I can go and do the same thing. Now let's go to Youth Center. We'll apply it. We'll see our numbers are going to be different. Something that's really interesting also is I have what are called our funds. They are our entities. They could be chapters, they could be locations, they could be branches, they could be building, they could be, and so on. So what I'd like to do is for my Omega chapter or Omega branch, I want to see what my counseling services are doing. So I'll click on that. So again, what's interesting here is I can slice and dice my data by any one of the dimensions that I've created. And I know the next question is going to be, but Pierre, what's a dimension? So this is a great segue. So we just did reporting and dashboards. I'm going to come back to some reporting shortly once I give you a heads up on what dimensions are all about. So how does the system make this level of reporting possible without becoming overly complex? Yeah, because anybody who's worked with segmented accounts knows how complex it can be. So let me show you quickly the difference between traditional accounts and dimensional accounting, the way Sage Intacct is built. Dimensional accounting is visibility without complexity, one of the top requirements we had. So a traditional chart of accounts will have an account number that's 4,000 membership revenue, but I also want to slice it by location. So I want to be able to pull out Atlanta's numbers separately from Chicago's numbers. Just created two account entries. And I also want to be able to pull out my data differently for Houston. Oh, great, another one. And then I want to do that for all of my locations. So things very quickly start getting a little bit out of hand. And we're talking about one dimension in our case, which is location: Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, Miami. I see Atlanta again, oops, and Detroit. So the problem with this is the structure is embedded in the chart of accounts. We can have thousands of accounts over time. As I'll show you, we can have millions, but nobody's going to have millions. What often happens is we'll have hundreds, and we still won't have everything that we want. It's also very difficult to maintain. You're going to have somebody who's creating accounts constantly, and you'd rather have them doing analysis. And another thing is that reporting becomes very hard to change. So how does dimensional architecture work? So we have an account, 4,000 membership revenue, and then what we do is we create the dimensions. Dimensions for me are the context for any transaction. They're also the business intelligence side. We consider the dimensions as a different entry than the accounts. So we create one account called 4,000 membership revenue, and we'll create X number of dimensions that we need for our reporting needs. The benefits, we end up having a simple chart of accounts. We have very flexible reporting. We have no GL redesign when the organization changes. So every time you go get a location, you don't have to add a zillion new GL entries. And I'll show you exactly how this works. So traditional chart of accounts. We want to create reports that will be built around our accounts number, our districts, our chapters, programs, campaigns, events, and member types. And we want to be able to slice and dice among all of these. So for example, I want to be able to pull out my membership fees per district, but I also want to know which event, or per district and member type, or per district and campaign and event and member type, which gets really complicated in a segmented system. So again, the membership fees, my account number is 4,000. My district is 06. My chapter is Atlanta. My program is a school program. The campaign is Campaign 1000. The event is a conclave, and the member type is graduate or undergraduate or honorary member or a lifetime member. Okay, so here we have 4 member types. The entire rest of this is the same. But what if we wanted to drill down another type of event? What we need to do is we need to add 4 more. For example, this is the initiation event. Again, we're adding 1 per member type. So we see that very, very quickly, if we want to use all these in combination, we're going to be creating a lot of accounts. So what we do is we look at the possible permutations. So we have 750 chapters, 6 programs, 10 campaigns, 10 events, and 5 member types. So that's a possible member permutation of 2,250,000 membership revenue accounts. It's going to take you a little while to type those in. And even if somebody says, well, you can import them from Excel, and why would you want to? So let's look at what dimensional accounting brings to us instead of 2,250,000 membership accounts. So what we do with dimensional accounting is we create one account, which is 4,000 membership revenue, and we create the dimensions we need. So we have one account, 6 dimensions. We've done 7 entries. Very, very quick. If I want to modify stuff, I can still modify. If I want to add another dimension, I can. The implementation people don't like this, but we can add as many dimensions as we really want and really need. What's really neat is that dimensions are 100% customizable. Somebody might want a dimension that's called fundraising campaign. Somebody else is going to want to have, I don't know, a dimension built on warehouse size. Somebody's going to want a dimension on employees, vendors, on, you name it. All right, so let's go take a look at dimensions now. Well, as you notice up here, Youth Center and Omega are dimensions built into the system. That's why we're able to, just with a couple of clicks, go modify what we see here. What's really neat is, let me show you how dimensions are put into the system so that we can report on them. So let's go into order entry. And we'll just very quickly go to sales order. This is a training session, so don't look where I'm clicking. We want a 30,000 foot overview. So here's my sales orders. I'm going to go click on one of these. And what we see here is, well, of course, it's our sales order. But down here, what's interesting is when the items were entered, T-shirts with the price and so on, somebody selected the fund. So the fund that's associated to, and again, fund is a dimension. So the fund that's associated to this purchase is put in here. The site is also a dimension. It's put in here. Project or grant, dimension, restriction, department, and so on. So we can have as many of these dimensions put in here as we want. These, again, will help us to create reports after the fact. So you see there's a dimension called site, and there's a dimension called department, which is over here. Let's go see a report, and I'll show you what we can do with those. So receivables, I'll come to my reports, my financial reports. And as I was saying, there's, zillions and zillions of reports built right into the system, and they're built in, they're imported for your type of industry. So here we have revenue and expenditures. So revenue and expenditures is a report that I created that can be viewed in HTML. It can be exported as a CSV. It can be exported as a PDF, and it can be exported as an Excel if you want to work on something outside of the system, which you really won't need to. The PDF, and of course the CSV, the PDF, and the Excels, you can't drill down once you have the numbers. Whereas when you created it in HTML, and I'm going to go change our date here. When you created it in HTML, you can drill down on any of the values. Let's go look at this. So here we have our statement of revenues and expenditures. So we're comparing it per site. So you see here's a site called Maine, Smithwick, Vance, Reedville, and here's a combination of all the sites. We can also put in a column here that's if the sites aren't required, so we don't want to fall between two chairs, we can display no site as a column here as well. Again, everything here, I can drill down and I go see the underlying transaction. But what if the board, where you're at a board meeting and one of the board members says, "Hey, this is really great, but could you give it to me per department?" 99% of the cases, you'd have to go back out, you'd have to modify your report, you'd have to do all kinds of rigmaroles and backflips. And okay, I'll give it to you next month. What's really neat with what we can do, excuse me, with what we can do right here is we can modify and create reports that we'll save that we can run after the fact. So here, I'm just quickly going into the report creator. I want to show you how easy this is. There's zero programming knowledge, dirt simple. So the report we had, the columns were per site. I want to modify them so that they're per department. So here, dimension structure, site group. No, I want it to be department. And the department structure I want is department sort. Okay. And I also want to expand everything by, well, departments. So I'll click on set. Oh, here my date changed. So I got to go back to the right date. And we click on preview. And now instead of the sites being up on top here, we have the departments: counseling, youth center, food services. So we can slice and dice our data any way we choose now that dimensions are in our system. Every report that I showed you in the list can be duplicated, copied, modified, and so on. You're not going in there and changing reports constantly. You create the reports that you need as the need comes up, and you save them and you can reuse them. Every single report that's in our report list, every report that's in our report list can be added to our dashboard. So any of these things, if you find that the consolidation report is important to have regularly, you put it on your dashboard and there it is. All right, good. So next one, this one's fun. This is where, when you are a business that only has one entity, you can be managed very easily by Sage Intacct. But as you add entities, it's still transparent, and consolidations are super transparent as well. So let me come share my screen. All right, so we saw reporting and dashboards. We've seen dimensions. Next thing we're going to see is multiple entities. So this is where we were saying we want to manage complexity and consolidation across all of our entities. All right, first question, what's an entity? Okay, an entity is a distinct financial unit within your organization that maintains its own books, transactions, and reporting. It could be a legal entity, a business unit, a location or branch, a chapter, a fund or operating segment, amongst many other things. So each entity has its own GL. It can have its own bank accounts. It records its own transactions, and it produces its own financial statements. And let me click out of here. And I will show you something fun here too. So I'll come down to consolidation and click on organization view. So this is the view of the business that we're looking at right now, where we have each one of our entities is down here, and we have a top level, which I won't call entity, we'll call top level. So everything rolls up in consolidation, everything can roll up into this top level. You'll also notice here for even easy navigation, we have our levels here. So here I have my top level. If I want to go to my Omega entity, I'll just click on this. It's going to reopen a tab, so I don't have to log out and log back in. So here we go. Now I'm on my Omega entity, and anything I work on in Omega stays in Omega. It could be seen in the top levels, but it can't necessarily be seen by the other entities. Also, so it's important to note that everything has what to do with security is built into the system using roles. You can add permissions and restrictions per user, right down to the unitary level if you want to, but it's not really recommended. We rather use roles. When you create a role permission set, anybody who's promoted or anybody who goes on vacation can be put in or out of that role really easily. So you're managing permissions without having to do backflips every time there's a change. Something that's always interesting as well. So we were looking at, fantastic, we'll do our little F11. So here what I want to do is I want to go consolidate. So to actually run the consolidation, Couldn't be any easier. I click on consolidation. I select the month I want to consolidate, and I click on consolidate up here. Boom, done. The eliminations are taken care of. If there's multiple currencies, it's taken care of. And also the reporting is completely integrated. So instead of consolidating in spreadsheets and waiting for everybody to send you your spreadsheets and then kind of putting them together and then finding out, oh no, one of them came in wrong. So then we got more modifications to do. And so we can produce consolidated financials directly in the system with minimum corrections. All right. So I click on this, click on consolidate. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to have all my consolidations done. And then what I do is I'll go into my reports and I'll take a look at what my consolidation looks like. All right, so here we have balance sheet consolidated view. It's a report I created. Let's go look at it in HTML. And I'm going to have to put in my date, of course, again. So we did March. And there we go. Oh, we can also, there's filters here. So we could put department or fund if we wanted to. These are not required fields. We could put them as required fields, but they're not in this case. So we'll click on OK. And here's our consolidated report. So here we have, for example, each one of our chapters plus the elimination account, which is here as well. And we can go all the way over to all of our funds together to get the view of the complete consolidation. All right, so let's click ourselves out of here. We're going to go see something else now. Another fun thing. Remember I was telling you about artificial intelligence and we were going to get to it later? Well, this is where it's at. What's being done with the system now is absolutely incredible in terms of AI and automation. When I talk about AI, though, people have fears about security and their data being public. Every AI feature that uses learning to learn about your system is private to you, and none of the data will be shared with anybody anywhere. But the system is made to learn from your entries, which is absolutely mind-boggling, and I'll show you how. So here it is. Continuous close. I want to close faster and with more confidence. Oh, I should have started with that. So essentially what we want to do is we want to make sure that at the end of the month, everything is as easy to close as possible. And this is where all of our AI comes in. So what does a traditional close look like versus our Sage Intacct continuous close? Well, during a traditional close, all of the work is concentrated at the end of the period. So the work is done, boom, and then there's chaos, and then there's interactions, and then there's who's doing what, and we got to close this, and oh no, I just closed the books here, and somebody wanted to enter something, I opened them up, oops, somebody else said, none of that, completely transparent. So continuous close, which as the name suggests, the work's distributed throughout the period. So there's part of what I'm going to show you now in our automation features that are done during the period. And then there's other parts that are done at the end of the period. So here's the during the period automation, which we call active automation. So the features, we have accounts payable automation, accounts receivable automation, bank feeds automation, static and dynamic allocation automation, general ledger outlier automation, and subledger reconciliation automation. We don't have time today to go in depth, but I'll at least give you a quick rundown on what they do. For our end of period automation, we have the close workspace and the AI close assistant. I'm going to show you these a little bit more in depth than any of the other ones. Absolutely amazing what can be done here. What's really neat too is, some people come to Sage Intacct where they don't necessarily have a defined process for how they want to end their month. So there's some things aren't quite clear. With the closed workspace, it's all clear. It's right there in front of you. It uses the best practices, and you're not having to go all over the place to close your month. There's also an AI feature called Insights that gives you heads up on you might want to look at this, you might want to look at that. And there's an AI help where any questions that you have, is just plain text. You write it in plain text, and it'll come back and give you the answers. All right, active automation. So accounts payable. Accounts payable automation streamlines the capture, the coding, and the approval of vendor bills using optical character recognition, or what you might know as OCR. And it also uses workflow rules. So it's going to reduce your manual entries, it's going to accelerate the processing, and it's going to improve the accuracy. So it's hitting every point we really want with the accounts payable. Also, liabilities are always up to date and ready for the close. So at the end of the period, you don't need to work on accounts payable. We are going to check them, but you probably have nothing to do. All right. Accounts receivable. So accounts receivable automation manages invoicing, it manages cash applications and collections, and there's minimal manual intervention. So payments are matched faster rather, discrepancies are flagged early, and receivables stay current. So again, everything is live. So at any one time, you can go see where are we at with our receivables today. We're not going to the end of the month to check it out. It improves cash visibility and also it shortens the cash conversion cycle, which we don't talk about enough, but is really important. Bank feeds automation. So bank feeds automatically import and match bank transactions to accounting records in near real time, which is unbelievable. Reconciliation becomes a continuous process instead of the month-end task, and it ensures cash balances are always accurate. And it reduces the reconciliation effort. So once again, when we get to the end of the month, we're going to be checking all of these things, but most things should already have been done. Static and dynamic allocations. So allocations automatically distribute costs or revenues across departments, projects, entities based on predefined rules. So if you know that every time your rent comes in, well, you want to split it between three departments and you always know what the ratio is going to be, click to click, it gets done automatically. Fantastic. Sometimes, though, we need dynamic allocations where we have to wait until a certain period is finished, and then we use that dynamic allocation to calculate things. For example, if we want to base our benefits on salaries, so the salaries are based on number of hours worked, and then the benefits, well, we know how to distribute them automatically. It gets done then. So static allocations follow fixed percentages, while dynamic allocations adjust based on drivers like headcounts or revenue. And this ensures consistent, accurate cost distribution without manual journal entries. So fantastic and really powerful. General ledger outlier automation. So the GL outlier, what it's going to do is it's going to take a look at your typical transactions and will tell you which ones are out of norm. So for example, your rent is normally, I don't know, $1,000 a month. Suddenly this month there's an entry for 7,000. It's going to come out in your GL outlier report and it's going to say, it might be something here. So once you go take a look at it, again, it's all in one report. Once you take a look at the outlier, you know that, well, rent is higher this month because of reason X, Y, Z. What's really neat is you add it to your memo right now or to your note right now, so that when the auditors show up in 6 months, you don't have to remember what you did. And there it is, it's live. So it gives you an extra layer of financial control and it reduces audit risks. Subledger reconciliation. So subledger reconciliation automation continuously aligns your subledgers like AR and AP with the GL. So differences are flagged and resolved as soon as they happen during the period and not necessarily at the close. This is the fun stuff. So end of period automation. So once we get to the end, if we did everything before, what do we need to do? Well, there's still some things. So we have what's called the closed workspace. So the closed workspace provides a centralized structured environment to manage the close process. So I'll show you what it looks like, and everybody's going to say, wow, I can't see anything. So let's go take a little bit closer. So every one of the tasks that needs to be done during the close process is in this checklist. So what's really neat is you go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, and you know exactly where you're going. And as I was saying earlier, the process is clear, is set up, and it's according to best practices. Something I like even more about this setup. So as we go see over on the right-hand side, we have task owners. So there's an owner of every step in the process. Nobody has to wonder, okay, who takes care of this and so on. We have start dates and we have end dates. We have dependencies. What has to happen before such and such a step in our process? We also have an indicator to see if we're on schedule, if we're not on schedule. Again, this is absolutely critical for efficient end of period close. We also know where we are with the tasks. And even more fun, we don't have to go anywhere out of the system to navigate and to work on what needs to be done. So there's a navigation link. There's navigation links right here. And you can click on each one of these and it will bring you to the actual software that does the work for you. All right. So that was the close workspace. This is the close assistant. So the close assistant monitors everything that's happening, and it allows you to go through stepwise through the end of period processes and will give you insights on what needs to be done. So let me show you this. So we have it's called the close assistant. So we click on our run close assistant and it's going to pop up the close assistant here, which allows us to, for accounts payable, review unposted bills, close AP, review unposted invoices, and so on and so on and so on. When you click on any one of these items, again, it'll bring you to the underlying software that needs to be addressed. All right. Last thing I want to talk about is the end of period automation. So once your work is done with the Close Assistant, it's going to give you insights on what needs to be done. So the Insight feature analyzes your financial data in real time to surface trends, anomalies, and key drivers, helping finance teams move from reporting numbers to explaining what's actually happening. So that completes our continuous close. Neil, do we have time to talk about the best of breed versus the monolith?
Yeah, you have a bunch of time.
Oh, okay. So I'll slightly speed up and won't breathe between sentences. All right, so best of breed is I want a system that's built around my needs. So not a system that was built for inventory, but a system that was built for accounting. So historically, a little history on ERPs. Historically, ERPs in the 1980s, 1990s were built around mostly inventory systems. So small team would get together, they program an inventory system, and then they realize, okay, well, we want to sell stuff. So we're really good at inventory control, but let's create an order entry and let's also create a receivables module because we're going to need those if we want to sell. Let's also create a purchasing and an accounts payable module if we want to sell. So now we have this inventory team that's programming and they're really good at inventory, but now we're asking them to create payables modules and receivable modules. So the results are what they are. And when you look at any of the ERPs, Great Plains, Navision, Solomon, Exupta, which have all become, Dynamics AX, Sol, Nav, GP, Profit 21, Next Trend, they've all started like this. So they all started with a core, which is not necessarily a financial core, and then programming was added. So, okay, I need a CRM. I'm going to add a CRM. You know what else I need? I need a warehouse management system. So I'm going to add that. So I also need field service management. So now what's happening is my programming team that's really good at inventory control is being asked to create a field service management module. Maybe, and you don't know what you don't know. So they do the best they can, but there's still maybe things that are not going to be as great as they could be. And the same thing happens when we create projects, HR, transport management service, and payroll, and so on and so on and so on. And then what happens is at the end of the month, once all these modules are running, we need to find super accountant. So we find super accountant and we print everything else out rather, we put it in a shoebox and we send it off to super accountant. So that's how ERPs have normally functioned. Oh, and there's also, instead of programming internally, sometimes the modules are purchased from other companies. So you have heterogeneous coding, you have different databases, you have a lot of different things. And what happens, the front ends are made slightly similar. So it's kind of transparent for the user. What happens with Sage Intacct? Well, Sage Intacct was built around finances. It was built around an accounting system. So essentially, Sage Intacct's first module was our accounting, but then, of course, we know we have to have a receivables and order entry. We need to have payables and purchasing, and we need a few other modules at a minimum. So inventory control, projects, and we have many other modules as well. Though we stopped improving our systems and coding our systems once we get to niche requirements. Because we don't want a system that does everything for everybody, but not so well. What we want to do is a best of breed system. So what we do with receivables, we do top notch. Order entry, top notch. But you know what we don't do? We don't have an online shopping system that's built around, I place an order, there's a confirmation that goes out, an email, that it gets sent out. No. Why? Because that's not what we do. What we do well, and we concentrate on that. So we do lots of updates to the system, but we're just improving on what we do well. If you want a really amazing front-end shopping system, then you get Shopify, or you get WooCommerce, or you get one of the zillions of ones that are out there. And what's really interesting is that we have an enormous ecosystem of integration APIs so that we can integrate Shopify with a couple of clicks. So you're getting a best of breed in Shopify. They do what they do best, and you get a best of breed with Sage Intacct. And you get a pre-built communication flow between them that's already in place. If we don't have the best of breed software that you need, we also can use Saltbox, as Neil was showing before, to map fields so that we can have full integration. So here's everything else that we can integrate. So once again, there are hundreds of these integrations that are already pre-built. I'll give you another example. If you're using Procore and you really love Procore, but the financial part, not so great, well, we can integrate Procore with Sage Intacct with a couple of little clicks. Okay, it's much more than that, but it's very simple compared to having to recode everything. So, quick recap. So we saw real-time visibility through dashboards. We saw flexible analysis with dimensions, strong multi-entity consolidation. We saw continuous close instead of a month-end chaos, and we saw best-of-breed architecture. So with that, I end my portion of the happy presentation.
Thanks, Pierre. Thanks so much. Great
Thank
job.
you.
And if you do have any questions, you can reach out to your consultant, myself, or anyone on our team here at Vision 33, and we'll be happy to get back to you promptly. Thanks, Pierre. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye now.
Take care.